If you've been paying attention over the years, a lot has been made about LeBron and his controlling of the narratives at ESPN. So let's get into LeBron's annual top 100. Now, I say that tongue in cheek. I'm kidding, right? I don't think LeBron created this NBA top 100 list. What I'm suggesting is that more than any other athlete, ESPN takes into account how LeBron feels about certain narratives and stories. And I have no doubt in my mind that over the years, there's been times that he's made a call like, don't run that, or can we push this type of story? With Clutch, his power, and their relationship. And hell, he's even joked about it, over the years on the shop and just different things. So no, I'm not saying LeBron created the list, but I think that this list is very interesting and there are various motives behind the way it is laid out. Now, I think the first thing that we have to ask about the list is, are we ranking these players based off last year, or are we doing some projecting into this season? Perhaps some potential, some decline, right? Because you can't have both. It seems like they kind of pick and choose which players they're projecting forward, and some guys, they are ranking them based off what they've done in the past. Another strategy that I think you see with these lists are placing players right next to each other. So it jumps out to us, the audience, that one's ranked over the other. Never mind that they're very close and they're right next to each other. It's the fact that one's ranked over the other it's a very smart thing to do in a list because it creates conversation. So for instance, Dame and Steph jumped out to me. Russell Westbrook, De'Aaron Fox, Devin Booker, Ben Simmons. These create conversations, and I think these players are strategically placed right next to each other. But again, back to the conversation of how are we ranking these guys? Let's be consistent here, because if you want to base it off of last season, the bubble, the body of work, I really can't argue with LeBron as number one. He won the championship. He won Finals MVP. He's number one. Cool. But then, are we projecting this year in the potential? Because at some point, I know I say it like I'm a broken record, Father Time is undefeated. Do we really expect LeBron to be the number one player this season, age 36 season? I mean, he keeps proving us wrong here, but let's go back to the De'Aaron Fox, Russell Westbrook subject. I believe Fox is ranked 2 spots ahead of Russ. Now, if you ask me, that's fine, I think, so long as you're making the assumption that De'Aaron Fox is going to take another step forward this year. If we're, again, ranking it like it seems like they ranked LeBron for last season, I don't think there's any way you can rank De'Aaron Fox ahead of Russell Westbrook. But if we're talking about the 21 NBA season, then okay, fine. Fox takes a little step forward, Russ maybe a little step backwards. I'm cool with that, right? But which way is it? But here's an example of the inconsistencies with it, because another one that stuck out to me was CJ McCollum was ranked ahead of Ja Morant. Okay, last season, fine, again, right? But we just said that they projected De'Aaron Fox to kind of move ahead of Russell Westbrook. Well, why didn't they project Ja Morant to move ahead of CJ McCollum? CJ is an undersized guard who's going to turn 30 years old. Ja Morant is headed to his second season, and is a player that I think we all anticipate taking a major step forward, a couple steps forward as he progresses. So again, it's inconsistency in how we're ranking these guys. Is it for the past? Is it for the future? Is it for right now? Explain to me, ESPN. You also saw the Miami Heat get the finals rub, which I'm fine with, right? You look at their 2 main stars in Bam and Jimmy Butler. I believe they were ranked 12th and 11th on this list. And once again, it makes sense rating it off of last year. But I want to talk a little bit about Jimmy Butler because I think it's one of the more interesting arcs that we can follow here headed into this season. Now, obviously, he went into the bubble and he silenced all the doubters, all the haters, myself included. And he deserves to be sniffing around the top 10 right now based off what he did in that bubble, if that's what we're talking about. But Jimmy's career arc is a little different. I wonder if he's kind of reached his peak much closer to his decline than we normally see with a star player. And he's 31 years old, right? Much like Kobe Bryant, I think that Jimmy's greatest asset is his work ethic and his will, right? But eventually, your strength becomes your weakness. And I just wonder if, at some point, the banging on his body and the workout, the early, I remember the day after they lost the finals, he was on social media in the gym at like 5 a.m. And to me, that was like, okay, cool. You're a tough guy. Your work ethic is unmatched. Is that really smart? What's the saying? Work smarter, not harder, right? And so eventually, like what I was getting at is a lot of the times you see these players' strengths become their weakness. And I think we saw it with Kobe. And are we going to see it with Jimmy Butler, where it's like his obsession with working out and just being in the greatest shape? Eventually, at a certain point, I can tell you right now, being an older athlete, at a certain point, less is more when it comes to the weight room. Like, you can't train like you're 25 years old when you're 35 years old. Something that LeBron has figured out, and I don't know if Jimmy will. So I'm interested to see if he can kind of ride this wave of being a top 10 player and kind of becoming a superstar, or if it was just a quick peak and then a steady decline. Something to look at during this season moving forward with the Heat. All right, looking at the list, the back end of the list, they released it in 3-day segments. Otto Porter made the top 100. I didn't even know Otto was still in the league. Like, get him all the way out, right? Get him all the way out. I thought Jeremy Grant at 88. Again, who's making these lists? What are their motives? No one can be truly objective, right? Someone on the board of this list, are they Nuggets fans? Like, that seems a little salty. I know everybody doesn't like that contract. 88 for Jeremy Grant, right? I don't know about that one. And then Christian Woods, I thought was way too high. He was one of the guys that I think they based off potential and projection, and they projected him way too far ahead. He was ahead of Aaron Gordon. He was ahead of Tyler Hero. He was ahead of a lot of guys I don't think he should have been. Again, maybe it's just a projection. They did the Spurs dirty. DeMar, are you okay? They shouldn't play with DeMar like that, right? That ain't right. And that was one of the ones where it felt like they projected on a decline. Most of these projections, it seemed like they were towards the future and guys getting better. Well, I won't say that all of them were, but the ones that jumped out to me were that. The Spurs, it's almost like they're writing those two players off. But again, I started off this video saying that there are layers to the motivations of this list. And the minute that you can realize that no one can really rank such a subjective subject. No one can be objective, right? There's always going to be personal. What do you value? Two-way players, scoring, age, potential, resume. Like, it's not all laid out. And again, this is by design by ESPN and LeBron. I'm kidding. But by ESPN. And I think first and foremost, what you need to understand is this is a troll. ESPN is trolling us because it drives conversation, it drives clicks and retweets. Like, if you make it, the more controversial the list, the better. So I think you need to understand that. Don't get too worked up because, again, I think this is a low-key troll from ESPN. Second, now this may be a little bit of a reach here, but follow me for a second. How much has been made about the ratings, ESPN, Disney, and the money being lost through this pandemic and just overall sports ratings going down? And it's a lot of the reason why I think that we're seeing these professional sports push through this pandemic. Money, right? Cream. And so I lost my train of thought here for a second, but follow me. So what if the rankings were to specifically motivate some of these star players? Let's take the Dame Steph ratings. Steph, I know Dub Nation right now feels disrespected, and Steph probably feels disrespected because that's how all these guys are wired, right? They all think they're the best. That's how they got there in a way. But let me ask you this. Steph comes out of the gate 30-8, 30 points a game, 8 assists, hitting 7 threes. The Warriors, what does that do to ESPN's ratings? Right? Right? A highly motivated Steph. Not to say that Steph needs motivation. What if Joel Embiid comes out just chiseled, the greatest shape of his life, and running up and down the floor? It finally looks like he's going to reach his potential. What does that do for ESPN, their ratings, and their big picture? So maybe simply some of these, particularly the ones that are stacked next to each other. The one that I forgot to cover, Ben Simmons, Devin Booker. I think that that's a fun conversation, and I'm here to have it. But let me ask you this. If you're a clean slate franchise, who are you starting with? Because I'm not taking Ben Simmons over Devin Booker. That's just me. But again, let's have the conversation, and that's what it's designed to do. And maybe perhaps motivate some of these stars. What if DeMar DeRozan comes out hoisting 8 threes a game next year? He's like, I told you I can shoot the threes. I told you. I just don't. All right, I'm going to leave DeMar alone. But you see what I'm saying here. Now, what I want y'all to do is drop 2 players in the comments. The one that you feel is ranked way too low, and the one you think is ranked way too high. Preseason, does it start today? I know the Warriors are on Saturday. That's what I'm paying attention to. But I'm excited to see all these guys. And this is the most exciting preseason ever, to be clear, right? With no summer league, a shortened training camp. I mean, I don't have to highlight the context of what this is. But in a nutshell, this is the most intriguing preseason we've ever had. So blessed and grateful that we're going to try to have it. I'm out, y'all.